right, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into, well, a stack of sources that show some really fascinating intersections happening right now.
Yeah, connections between politics, tech, and the big economic forces at play.
We've got news reports, White House fact sheets, Fed minutes, even some tech earnings.
So the mission today is to kind of piece these together for you, see how these different worlds are actually interacting.
Let's unpack it.
Okay, so first up, politics and crypto. There was this black tie dinner President Trump hosted recently.
Yeah, I saw reports on this. Not your usual political dinner, right? This was for top buyers of his Trump fee meme coin.
Exactly. And getting in wasn't cheap. The sources say attendees spent something like $148 million combined on the token just for the invite, pitched as super exclusive.
But it sounds like the reality was maybe a bit different. Sources quote one attendee saying, pretty bluntly, the food sucked.
Yeah. And limited drinks. Apparently, security got lax after Trump left. He was reportedly only there for about 23 minutes anyway. Gave a speech, but didn't really mingle much.
And the market reaction, that's interesting too. The coin's price, Trumpo, actually dropped 16% hours after the dinner.
Which, immediately gives people asking questions. What
Wow.
was the real point?
For sure. And lawmakers jumped on that. Sources mentioned concerns about potential pay-to-play.
Right. And here's the detail. Most of the really big holders, they apparently sold their tokens before the dinner.
Oh, really? So they cashed out before the event itself.
Most of them, yeah. Though the top two wallets held on. One linked to Justin Sun, who, remember, has those paused SEC charges. So that adds another layer.
And the criticism reported in the sources, it gets pretty pointed, talking about whether attending in personal time even matters when it's about access linked to, well, the office.
Exactly. Concerns about foreign interests potentially getting access, maybe complicating that stablecoin legislation, the Genius Act that's being debated.
Yeah, one lawmaker apparently called it straight up selling access and a scam to funnel money to the family. It really shows how messy this intersection of crypto and politics can get.
Definitely a new kind of frontier for these sorts of questions.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Still politics and tech, but moving towards energy. Sources also cover President Trump signing an executive order on advanced nuclear reactors.
Right, focused on deploying them fast. The stated goal, national security. Specifically, powering things like AI data centers and military installations.
So, actual directives. The Army's apparently told to build a reactor on a base within 3 years. That sounds ambitious.
Very. And the Energy Department needs to designate AI data centers at its sites as critical defense infrastructure, powered by nuclear, within 30 months.
So the big push seems to be cutting through red tape, right? Helping the private sector move faster.
Yeah, industry leaders quoted see nuclear as vital for that 247 power AI needs, and they blame regulatory delays for holding things back historically.
And the strategic angle is pretty clear. Boost national security, rely less on foreign energy, and get the U.S. ahead in AI. They call it technological supremacy.
Explicitly contrasting it with, relying on foreign reactor designs or fuel sources now. It's connecting energy policy directly to AI leadership.
Okay, so we have these political moves, these tech strategies. How does this filter into the broader economy? Let's bring in the Federal Reserve perspective.
Well, the latest FOMC minutes, that's their detailed meeting notes, show the Fed thinks the economy and jobs are still solid, but inflation, still somewhat elevated.
But the new wrinkle highlighted in the sources is tariffs. The recent increase added a lot of uncertainty.
A lot, because tariffs create this risk of both higher unemployment and higher inflation happening at the same time.
That's the nightmare scenario for a central bank, isn't it? Things moving in opposite directions.
Exactly. Tariffs can push up prices, obviously, but they can also slow down the economy if trade gets disrupted.
Yeah.
So what do you prioritize?
And there's a debate inside the Fed about this, according to the minutes. Do they look through the tariff inflation, treat it as temporary, maybe cut rates to help the economy?
Or do they not look through it? Meaning, focus on fighting that inflation, keep rates steady, maybe even raise them to make sure people don't start expecting prices to keep rising long term.
Anchoring those expectations is key for them. One official, Neil Kashkari, apparently argued strongly for not looking through, saying keeping those expectations stable is paramount.
Yeah, you can see the uncertainty reflected in the markets too, the Fed noted. Volatility, bond yields rising even while stocks maybe fell, the dollar weakening. partly blamed on trade policy worries.
And we see real-world impacts. Sources mention NVIDIA's latest earnings, huge revenue from AI data centers, obviously.
But they also took a massive $4.5 billion charge. Why? China export restrictions on specific chips.
Wow, so a direct hit from a policy decision impacting a major tech player and global supply chains. It perfectly shows how these geopolitical moves feed right back into that economic uncertainty the Fed's trying to manage.
So pulling it all together, you see these threads, right? Political actions, whether it's a crypto dinner or a nuclear EO for AI, have these direct ripple effects.
Yeah, they hit markets, shape huge infrastructure plans, and create these really complex challenges for the people managing the economy, like the Fed.
The lines are definitely blurring between politics, tech development, and economic stability.
So, as these worlds keep colliding in, well, sometimes unexpected ways, the question for you is, how do you make sense of this increasingly tangled landscape? What questions does this deep dive leave you asking?